Hello, my name is Lyn Stone, and my job as a consultant and linguist in private practice has always involved having conversations with educators and thinking about how linguistics can help shape teaching. I know for sure that there are plenty of very high quality resources on the market for teaching phonics and phonological awareness, but I'm constantly asked by schools and teachers, what next? So I looked at the curriculum from Australia, the UK, and the US, and the standard linguistic requirements at each grade level. I looked into the findings of cognitive psychology about how we learn and what reading and writing is composed of, and I put it all together with my own knowledge of spelling, grammar, and morphology, and came up with Language Arts. Language Arts is a course in 6 parts, and it was originally intended to be released as a live face-to-face event at the end of the year. But the universe had other plans. So this is a guide to the online version. So that great big intro, you didn't need that anyway, right? I'll do it. I'll record it later. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to share my screen. When you, or if you, and this is to help you decide whether or not you actually want to do this, if you do log on to the course, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see, I've used a platform called Open Learning, and it's really beautiful. I know that in my promotion before, I was talking about putting it on Moodle, but I prefer this platform. It's much, much more user-friendly, and I'm just really enjoying working through it. So what happens is, you'll get onto this bit, and you'll see all the here. These are all the modules, and there are 6 of them. And this course is intended to be done over 6 weeks. So what we'll do is, in the first week, we're talking about learning how we learn. You get access to that. You get access to the whole course, but the learning how we learn bit is the first bit that we're going to discuss when we meet. So we organize a time for a live meeting. And I'll put some times together. There may be 2 so that you can choose and be flexible during that first week. And that first week is the week in July, the week beginning July the 27th. So in that week, there will be 2 opportunities to have a live webinar with me, where we go over the modules, or the pages within the module of that course. So we're going to start with cognitive load theory. We have to. One of the things, I'm not an expert in cognitive load theory, but I'm doing my best to become as knowledgeable about it as I possibly can be. And I think everybody needs to have an overview of cognitive load theory. We're also going to talk about working memory, processing speed, orthographic mapping, muscle memory, because a lot of this course is to do with creating really good habits for writing, types of practice, and phonological awareness. We have got also, at the end of every module, is ages and stages, and that's a scope and sequence for each of the elements that have that work with the scope and sequence. There's not going to be a scope and sequence for working memory, if you know what I mean, but there's a scope and sequence for phonological awareness. So there's a scope and sequence at the end of every one, from the foundation year to year 6. So that's basically the format. I'll bring you into module 2, and I'll actually show you what happens when you press those modules. We've got here, module 1 is learning how we learn. Module 2 is about the simple views of reading and writing. So we do, if you press that, then you can go into, each icon is a new set of pages. Then you can go into the material that is within the simple view of reading, and you read through that. There are also areas where you can ask questions and so on. So that's basically the format. I'm going to show you one that's a bit more populated than that. So there's some reading stuff, and then the one that I want to do is this one, irregular words. So there's a whole thing on irregular words. There's a whole unit on irregular words. When you make your way through it, there will be places where you have optional further study, and you can press on links to go and find out more about the things that I'm talking about. So what language arts is, apart from a scope and sequence, and apart from a really big expanded glossary and exercises, there's also tributaries. So you can go down these paths if you want to know more about that particular concept. So this is At a Loss for Words by Emily Hanford, and that takes you to her podcast. So that it's full of that sort of thing as well. So you can jump on and learn more. Then there are, this one's a 4-step process about learning words and a marking system that goes with learning what is termed irregular words. And then I've also uploaded the Dolch list and a doctored version of the Dolch list. After that, there's again more options to go and look into lots of those words from that list in a video here. And also when we do the live meetings, I'll take you to a different module and show you. When we do the live meetings, they're recorded and then they are uploaded. So structured, the third section is called Structured Literacy, which includes all of the elements. Those are what makes words, from phonemes all the way to morphemes. Setting up your elements is how I set up my board. Phonemes, we do need to talk about phonemes and have some really good meta language there. So that unit is all about, it's not learning the IPA or anything like that, but it is about this thing called the 3 phonemic musketeers, voice, placing, and manner. So we really, really get into phonemes. And I've uploaded the IPA. Here's another thing that you get during the course. There are quizzes, and this one is a fill in the blanks quiz. There are lots of different types of quizzes through it. And then there's dialogue as well. So you can ask questions right there and then and have dialogue on what you're thinking. There's also places to share some of the things that you come up with as well. So there's forums too. And everything, again, at the end of every module, there's a scope and sequence. So what was it? Yes, the structured literacy resources. I'll go into that bit and show you. There are notes for every module. So there's a manual, and that's a PDF that you download with a table of contents and all of the stuff that we've been talking about. And then also there is the webinar. So once that live webinar has taken place, you can then access the recording if you miss it or if you want to replay it. And I will press record. Yes, I will. I promise. That's module 3, and that's where this pilot school have started, because they were trained face-to-face in modules 1 and 2. Did Jack or Danny appear? No, all right, they must be busy. Module 3, structured literacy. Module 4, we do a really big in-depth grammar piece. And if you've come to The Pen is Mightier Than the Sword, you'll have seen a lot of this. There's also a grammar scope and sequence. So if you, again, this is just a sample of the grammar scope and sequence. So there's a grammar, phonological awareness, spelling, and morphology scope and sequence from foundation to grade 6. So this is the grammar one. It's done over a 30-week, so sort of suggested scope and sequence over 30 weeks. So week 1, this is what I suggest with grammar, all the way through to week 30. And with that scope and sequence, I'm using the pilot school to really help me nut that out, because I'm a one-on-one practitioner and I have to see how this works in larger groups. So they're going to they're feeding back to me whether this is workable for them. And by the time you get onto the course, that scope and sequence will be even more sophisticated, but you get the idea. All right, and then what else do we have? Going back to, that's the grammar part. The week after that, it leads right into morphological magic. With morphology, we study etymology. We look at the definition of bases and roots and the difference between those things. We look at a working set of prefixes and how they change according to the bases that they're on. We talk about Latin and Greek, and there are lesson plans about introducing the concept of Latin and Greek. We talk about suffixes in two parts. So there are inflectional suffixes and derivational suffixes. And knowing the difference between those two makes you quite a powerful grammar teacher. Then we talk about spelling and morphemes, because if you add morphemes to bases, spelling has to be integrated. And then there are ages and stages for morphology as well. There are other resources for morphology too, because again, there's quite a lot of high quality stuff on the market for morphology. So I like to link to those things for further study and for more resources. Number 6, we put it all together. So this is the 6th module in that course, and it's about writing. So this course isn't about reading. It's not necessarily about making reading better, but applying a lot of this, of course, will do that. My big job, the big difficult job I have, is trying to improve the lot of people who struggle with writing, but also to improve the ease with which writing can be taught from K to 6. So this is all about writing. We talk about grip and posture. We talk about writing implements. Dysgraphia has to be mentioned. And then we go from the word level to the sentence level to the paragraph level, and how to interleave that in a knowledge-rich curriculum. And then there's ages and stages for all of these as well. Jack's here? Ah, good. Jack, I've just been alerted that you have walked into the room. Welcome. You're probably still getting settled down. And that, I've stopped sharing with you, that is the structure of the course. I don't want to, overload you or anything like that, but that's what you get. That's it. So I was alerted to the fact that Jack Neal has come, and he is, there he is. There's Jack. Jack, can I get you to introduce yourself and to unmute Jack? Yes, would you? Is that all right? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but because you are and I should have written this down, shouldn't I? Because I don't want to get your title wrong, Jack. So just bear with me while I figure out exactly how to introduce this incredibly helpful and amazing leader. So Jack is the senior leader of learning and teaching at St. Monica's Primary School in Wodonga, and his staff have just embarked. Hi, Jack.
Hi everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to have our second meeting tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And your staff have done modules 2 and 3 on this particular course. They have access to 1 and 2, but 1 and 2 is something that we covered in part live last year, but they can still see that. So how's it going?
The program or everything in general?
Let's start with everything in general, because
okay.
I care.
Well, lovely. Thanks for caring. It's going well. It's cold and wet though, but apart from that, life's good. That's it in a nutshell.
I'm very glad. And how are your staff going? Because we meet every fortnight.
Yep.
So they have a fortnight to
yeah. I think one of the things we've found with our staff is the intensive type PD that we used to, where we just sort of go into a full day of a particular focus is great, but the ongoing impact that has is probably limited. I think people take a really rich mixture of things out of the day, and if it's not, I think we all know, if it's not acted on relatively quickly, it soon can lose some of its power. So what we've found in this program is people are going back to and from the platform quite regularly and using it as a bit more of a talking point and a continual learning point. So that flexibility is really good. I think some of our staff are finding they like to sort of listen to the meet or the Zoom discussion or whatever it is, and then sort of attack some of the modules after as well. So there's a bit of flexibility in there, and it's made for a bit more of a sort of sustained learning for us, which is starting to, we're getting used to it, mind you. We've had to adjust our mindset. It's not okay that now that's done, on to the next thing. It's starting to become more and more. I think our learning leaders have planned their PLTs over the next couple of weeks, and it's got a place in all of them. So it's starting to be really purposeful as we get used to it as well.
Good. Yes, we've all become experts on online learning, as I was saying to everyone before. And yeah, this has come out of necessity rather than anything else. But you know what? I'm loving it. I'm actually loving not traveling, and it's not too bad. So I'm glad. I'm glad. This is the key. Thank you so much for that. Is there anything that you wanted to add, or you're good?
No, I think I imagine most people here are thinking about where this fits with their, or does it fit into their programs that they're doing at their schools? And I suppose the biggest thing is the flexibility, Lena. I think being able to have ongoing access to yourself and the program is really, really important. So just get creative with that flexibility with those sort of things too, particularly in this remote learning time. It's a great opportunity to have a look at how PD can be different. I think it's a nice surprise. It's been a really pleasant surprise.
I'm very, very glad, Jack. Thank you so much for that.
No worries.
The great thing about open learning, and this is why I moved from Moodle to open learning, was that it is about collaborative learning as well. So it's very easy for people to upload their thoughts and ideas. And there have been people on one of my other courses that are uploading kind of plans as well. This is how I do it, or I'm going to introduce this word this way. Does everyone want to see that? And it's really nice. It's a really, really nice cooperative learning space. So thank you so much. It is question time. Does anybody have questions, queries, doubts, reservations? A little song. I don't mind. No songs. It's a bit sad.
Lyn, I'll ask a quick question.
Sue?
Hey, how you going?
Lovely.
Nice to see you. Lyn, just I suppose you might have touched on this, and it's just I'm not really familiar with the course. Can you just talk me through it again, the time commitment, and how perhaps St Monica's is actually what's a suggested way that a whole school, and I suppose that's another question, is your recommendation that a whole school sign on, and how does that actually look across a term? Or
well, the way I've got it pitched, and again, this is a pilot school, so that it might not be perfect, but the way I've got it pitched is it's about 3 hours per module, and there are 6 modules. So overall, the certificate will say you've done 18 hours of PD. However, within that, there's an inflexible and a flexible part. So the inflexible part is when we meet live. It's fairly inflexible. So you got to be there for that hour if you possibly can, right? So there's 1 hour where we are actually interacting per module. And then it'll take about 2 hours on average to go through the material of the module. That's what I'm thinking it takes. Jack might have a different story. And also, if you are looking at a whole group of people, you're going to get your really fast ones. You're going to get your slow ones. You're going to get your incredibly thorough ones.
Yeah.
So the parameters are difficult to set, but I'm thinking it's 3 hours per module, so about 18 hours of PD.
Yeah.
And as far as schools go, I mean, that's a question. It's a case by case thing.
Yeah.
The stuff that I'm going into here is not 101. I mean, there's definitely, I try to give as much background knowledge on all of the modules as I possibly can, but I'm assuming that the people who are coming to this course are already fairly well versed in the science of reading, because this is not about that. It's not about phonics, and it's not about phonological awareness particularly. Because that's already being pretty well done in the audience that I have. Yeah. So I'm assuming a bit of expertise in terms of you already know how to teach kids to read. It's the what next that I'm trying to answer. Does that?
Yeah.
Does that make it a bit clearer? You know, so again, a novice will still gain something from it, but they'll have to study it quite hard.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why within that, I've also put, well, here's a reference to that. Here's a video. Here's how you can build your knowledge.
Yeah.
You need to build your knowledge on that bit.
Yep. And so in terms of whole school, if someone wants to do this, they'd be very motivated themselves and they would be that sort of self-driver. But if you were having a whole school or a unit, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 teachers or something, it might be that the face-to-face with you would actually be every 4th week. And then teachers would be half an hour a week because all of us are working under agreements and, expectations about what people can do on top of their existing meeting schedules and things that they're doing. So I'm just thinking in a practical sense, is that what I'd be interested in, Jack, what he's thinking on the ground, how it would work for a whole school.
Yep. Was that Sue that was asking that question? Thanks, Sue. Just for us, obviously those restrictions are, you know, it's competing demands. I think we're all familiar.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that balance is something we've had a lot of discussion around. I suppose in our context, we've prioritised this as essential learning for our staff. So we've cleared a lot of space to allow it to take place over a certain period. So for the cycle, if you like, of how it works within our school is we have blocked out a 90-minute meeting that would have just been a normal staff meeting and allocated that to time with Lyn live. And then we've also allocated pockets of 30 minutes across other meetings that already exist. We've just said, well, we'd like 30 minutes of that meeting to exist for the purpose of exploring the online platform and so on.
So maybe in your PLC meetings or whatever, you've allocated time for it.
Yeah, so we've sort of built it in and acknowledged the things that might need to take a back seat for a little bit. In terms of where we are, we've deemed it sort of essential learning. So it's, that's how we've worked it.
And whole school? I'll ask one more question then, Lyn, and then I'll be quiet. Is your whole school doing it at once?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we're a whole school. So we've done some junior training around Sounds Right, and we've had some high school. Great. Yeah. And I guess our 3 to 6s particularly have a bit of a thirst for something else in that space.
Yes.
And our Sounds Right trained staff are well and truly well versed. So they're our experts in the field, if you like. And but we thought whole school. Most of our staff move between areas, so we thought this is knowledge we all need. So
absolutely. How many teachers, just out of interest?
We have 24 classrooms, so there's probably around nearly 40 participating in the course.
Yep. Great. Thank you.
And there is, thank you, Jack. I just did have a thought on that as well. Yes, there's definitely the live stuff, but also there is a live element in that. There are forums. It's basically my new Facebook. I don't even go on social media now. I just go on that and just answer people's questions and talk to them. Because, that's the kind of nerdy stuff that I'm into. But the point I'm making is there is always that contact. I'm always following up and trying to make sure that everyone's questions are answered in good time. And that's, that's another element of it. So when it comes to having a whole school involved and just exclusively for them, that's a different thing than having, and I will always cap this. So when it's open to the public, there will only be 30 places so that I can concentrate on you. And Jack's school's a bit bigger, but that's fine. But I'll cap the open to the public ones at 30. So if I'm working with a whole school exclusively like that, then we get to figure out the time frame that's going to work for the school, and I build my days around that.
Yep.
Good. Now there are some chat questions that I'm going to answer, if that's all right, everybody. I'm not allowed to unmute. Oh, that's you, Jack. We've figured it out. How does this link with the other courses that you currently offer? That's a great question, Jane. As I was sort of explaining before, for every concept there are tributaries. Like there are other paths that you can go down to get layers and layers and layers of knowledge. With this, the spelling thing that's part of this course is not the entire Spelling for Life course, but it is the latest information that I have on spelling, and I'm constantly updating that. But then there's a scope and sequence. But then there's this, if you really need to know, if your focus is spelling, then it's possible that you'll benefit from Spelling for Life, or from looking at the materials and that sort of thing. It's the same with grammar, because we could spend years on all of this. What I'm trying to do is trim the fat on all of it, and then give the option, if you need further study, if you want further study, to go to my courses or other people's courses. There are lots of alternatives that you can go down. So it ties in that way. It's not a repeat of those courses. It's not like I've taken Spelling for Life and just shoved it in there. That's not what it is at all. So they are different. They're different beasts, if you like, but they're all from the same kind of linguistic brain, if you get my meaning. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Jane. I teach year 4 to 7, a year 4 to 7 class. Ooh. Do the scope and sequence chart support multi-level classes? Well, I guess in this way, at the end, on week 30 of every scope and sequence document, it says by week 30, these are the goals, but they're separated out into different year levels. So actually, Patrina, I don't know whether you could take, 4, 5, 6, 7 and integrate. Wow, that's a really interesting situation. So you teach years 4, 5, 6, and 7 in one class. Patrina, are you there? It's really interesting, multi-level. Must be a tiny school. I had a wonderful school like that called Blighty Primary School. Maybe that's you. Anyway, let me know. If you can clarify. If you're still there, I'll try and help. Is this targeted more to schools than individuals? Nope. This is definitely something that individuals can do. So think of it in terms of sounds right, Spalding, little learners. Individuals can do them. Schools can do them. Am I right, Maureen? Yeah. So it's little learners love literacy I'm talking about. It's about raising capacity for whatever situation you're in. So there are practitioners, and there are very, very keen parents, aren't there, Sam? Very keen parents that feel they might benefit from this. Will you run a second intake later in the year? Yep, I definitely will, Sam. I definitely will. Also, there will become a point where I run just a pre-recorded one, and I'll do the live ones too, but I'm building the pre-recorded one for people who just can't do the live ones. Let's take a bit of time though. I want to get it right. Is this a good option for when you're homeschooling your own child with numerous learning issues? It's a tough one, Sharon, because I am assuming a certain knowledge base. I'm assuming a certain knowledge base. Having said that, within those modules, if you're not getting it, there are references to other ways you can get that information. So, it's your call ultimately. Yeah, it's a tough one to answer, but it's definitely not for novices. Or if you're a novice, you're gonna have to work really hard. I'm not saying you're a novice, you're amazing, but there you go. Patrina, yes, I do. So wow, I teach 4, 5, 6. Wow, look at all these amazing. Yeah. So my answer to that would be kind of on an explicit direct instruction thing, in that the work that you do is differentiated within each one of those modules. However, I haven't specifically written it for that. So that is adapting. I'm going to be really honest. That is adapting that you would have to do as the teacher. I can't promise that I'm going to be able to give you a worksheet that will help 4, 5, and 6 at the same time. But the Ages and Stages document is hopefully goals that each one of those levels can work towards. 2 classrooms for Springton Primary, that's very cool. Claire, my expectations change per year level. It is great because you can go up and down the scope and sequence and go back or extend students constantly. Good. That's really good. I might have to pick your brain. Your formidable brain. How much would it cost for, where's it gone? This is Kathy. How much would it cost for an individual teacher to take the course? Sorry, I haven't checked the website. For individuals, it's $650 plus GST. And in fact, I'm only really enrolling people as individuals at the moment. There is a kind of, I'm figuring out the way to enroll schools, but right now it's $650 per person. How relevant is the information sessions for Indigenous and ESL students? It's a really good question. It is certainly not pitched for Indigenous or ESL students. It's not pitched for people whose maybe 3rd or 4th language is English. Because that's not my area. That's not my area of expertise. So what I would have to do to answer that question is actually get feedback from people who are involved with Indigenous and or ESL students. And that's how I can get the answer to that question, because right now I don't have the answer to that one. However, and I will say this, however, knowing the concepts within there are not going to harm anyone. I think as teachers, you need to understand the concepts that are in there, no matter who you're teaching and no matter what their background. A lot of it is to do with how we learn and what it is that makes words, no matter the background. So, but, you know, like I say, it wasn't written for that particular audience, if you like. It's a juggling act. Yes, I bet it is, Patrina. My goodness. Madeline, we're heading for Initial Lit K-2 next year. Awesome. The knowledge base of my staff is currently very mixed. Would you recommend trying to increase their knowledge in the science of reading before looking at this course? That's a really good question, Jack. You've got a fairly mixed knowledge base as well, and you've had your staff trained in Sounds Right, and some in EDI as well.
We haven't really done any training in EDI. We've been exploring that ourselves this year. Right. COVID saw to the training being put off. But
do you wish that would you recommend trying to increase any of the mixed staff's knowledge in the science of reading before looking at the course, do you think?
Well, we did. I guess that was our first point, moving towards Sounds Right that we done at the end of last year. Yep. Our whole focus last year was around developing our knowledge of the science of reading, and if I was to do it again, I'd probably do the same thing. It seems like a really valuable way of setting it up.
I think it's quite logical, isn't it? And again, you know, I wrote the course because it was the question. Look, I know this stuff. I know how to teach kids to read, and they're going along well. But we're kind of, as Jack said, hungry in the 3 to 6 space for what next. But I can never do anything just isolated 3 to 6. It's got to be. There are some things that I think these preps should know. You know, there are some things that these grade 1 and 2s should know from a linguistic perspective that I'm going to write into the scope and sequence. So, yeah, but I hope that answers your question, Madeline. Cool. All right. Do we have any further questions? Because we've gone a teeny tiny bit over, haven't we? I mean, I like you all. I'll stay here and answer your questions forever, but. Hey! Oh, you're muted, Liz. And frozen. Any other questions from anybody? Pardon?
Just another quick one from me, if that's okay. Sorry. So like Jack, I've got, and I suppose I'm here, there's individuals on here who are interested in the course for themselves, but like Jack, I'm looking at whole school and people at really different stages. So in terms of being a leader, and I could probably email Jack and ask him this question, is around we usually make decisions together as a leadership team. And I might, you know, I'm maybe a little bit ahead of some people in terms of their knowledge and where their thinking's going. Do you what's the best, I suppose, just your website, Lyn, or do you have your flyers about this course? I know you're in the early stages, so you probably haven't, like you said, you're just even working out how to do it at a whole school level. You're thinking initially it'll probably be individuals enrolling for it. But in terms of talking to a whole school just for 10 minutes to introduce yourself or anything, do you offer anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
That was obviously working with you already. Is that?
Yeah, I certainly can do that sort of thing. I've written a kind of write-up and a guide to the course on the website, but I'm happy to answer more questions if individual schools want a meeting. That's fine. I'll try and be as flexible as I can. I'm talking to a few schools, and I'm clearing times in my diary because I know that there will be schools that just want their own course and not to go onto the public one, the individual one, and I'm working very hard on capping all of it. Although I'll take on a big school as well, that's fine. It's slightly different from a big load of individuals, you know.
Yes.
A big school is not, it's not a problem. Big load of individuals, I'm capping at 30. So that's happy to talk further.
I might email you. Yeah.
Cool. Kristen said, hi Kristen, said, I missed the beginning, caught up with work. Is this being recorded to watch afterwards? Yes, it is. Although my intro, I didn't press record, so I'll redo it in my pajamas tonight. How about that? Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, everyone. Are there places still available for the July to September course? Do you mean the one that launches at the end of July? Yes, there are places still available. There are places still available for that. And I haven't released a date for a second open to the public one. But from the conversations I'm having, there will be quite a few schools that I'll have to make space for as well. If that makes sense. Thank you, Jack. That's really, really kind of you. Very kind. Thank you. And I think that's all the chat questions. If anyone has any more out loud, then you can go for it. If not, then I will bid you good night and I'll go and have dinner. It's chicken curry with roti tonight for me. What are you having? Anything nice? I hope so. Thank you. All right, I'll let you file out.
Awesome.
Thank you. It was lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. Very kind.
Thanks, Lyn.
My pleasure. Huge pleasure. Jack, thank you so much. You've been amazing.
Yeah. Jack, I might email you. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
That'd be
no
great.
Problem,
yeah. Just you're that step ahead of us, and I'd love to just. We've just doing. I'm in a new school, just doing Sounds Right training now for everybody. We know I've been on board with this for a long time, but it's just I'm a bit ahead of everyone, and this is the next step for us. But I need to take them with me. And I need someone like you or Lyn just in a leadership meeting for 15 minutes, just to talk to my team, just to convince them. Otherwise, it can be, becomes just about what you. This is what Sue's forcing us to do instead of must do this. We must do this.
I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that for anyone.
Lyn, that I would really appreciate that. That voice of the expert is just so. I know. It's just this is like I'm just in heaven thinking about this for my school. Just so excited. Cool.
I'll get my people to call your people and we'll brunch.
Yeah. And because, when you've got enthusiastic teachers, but they just don't know what they don't know. And they just don't know.
Yep. It's a really exciting journey and I'm glad you're able to.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited about it. But I have to temper my my tolerance for new and change and everything with just need to go slowly and anyway.
Play the long game.
Not scare people off.
Very cool. Very cool.
Awesome. I'll be in touch.
All right, that's lovely.
Yeah. I'd already Googled your school, Jack, though, because Lyn had said she was at St Monica's. So I'm like, I'd already Googled your school and read all about. If you're a little bit closer, I'd drive to you. I'm down in Ballarat, so I can't get to you. But there's people like us separately around the state, really, you know, moving this way. But I'm a bit of a loner down here in Ballarat. So
yeah, I think we are in some ways as well. But it's exciting to know there's other people that are getting into it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thanks, Lyn. I'll be in touch.
I'll let you all press the leave button.
Yeah, I know. We don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. Yeah.
All right, within limits. Within certain limits.
No. We're going home. Time to go home.
Curry.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lyn.
Ben.
What?
Yes, the discount code. Whoops. I will email that to everyone.
Yeah.
It's a 10% discount code.
Oh wow.
Coming along.
Awesome.
So, woo, I forgot about that. Sorry.
Perfect.
Great reminding. Thank you, Roxanne. Zoinks.
Thanks so much.
You'll get that right now. I'll email you all. Goodbye. Good evening. Have a terrific time. And yes, I'll see you soon. Thanks for the reminder. You were going to get that. So lovely to see you. Take care.